Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa. After crossing the Neranchara river, the ascetic Siddhartha encountered a Brahmin who offered him the bundle of hay that he was carrying. The ascetic Siddhartha laid the hay down underneath the 35-year-old Bodhi tree. As he sat down, his mind was bold and brave. In that instant, Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa arose. That is, he knew that mental intoxications and defilements, asava, would be extinguished within Ācariya. He daringly resolved, I will sit in this place until I become enlightened as a Buddha. If I do not become enlightened, I will forever sit in this place. Even if my skin, flesh, and tendons deteriorate, if I do not become enlightened, I will forever sit in this place. The ascetic Siddhartha made this bold and audacious resolution because Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa had already arisen within him. The daring reconfirmation was not a method of enlightenment in any way. Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa itself would not help him reach enlightenment either. Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa is merely knowledge or insight, ñāṇa, that mental intoxications and defilements will be extinguished. Buddhists typically interpret Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa as knowledge that arises for the purpose of eliminating mental intoxications, asava, defilements, kilesa, and desires, tanha, from the mind. I wish to re-emphasize that this is not the case. This is likened to someone on a path to a final destination. They have never taken that path and don't know what the final destination will be like. Yet they are confident that the path they are on will definitely lead to the final destination. From the commencement of the trip to the journey itself, to the last stride that crosses over the finish line, they know they have reached the final destination. It is not necessary to speak of the path traversed any longer. Likewise, the Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa that arises is the same way. The topics of Dhamma that are suitable to one's character have already been practiced, starting from the beginning stage of practice, Paṭṭhama Patipatti, to the intermediate stage of practice, Majjhima Patipatti, up to the final stage of practice, Paccima Patipatti. The practice has reached its end. There is consciousness of having wholly completed that practice. Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa is the same way. This knowledge, ñāṇa, merely signals the fact that the practitioner will extinguish mental intoxications. It does not eliminate defilements, desires, or mental intoxications from the mind in any way. Manuals define Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa as knowing how to extinguish mental intoxications from the mind. This interpretation is not entirely accurate. As one is about to cross the finish line, one does not have to take further action. One can simply wait to reap the fruits of one's practice, pativeta, within Ācariya. This can also be compared to eating a meal in order to achieve satiety. Before achieving satiety, there must be procedures from the very start. That is, the search for raw materials that will be suitable for your elemental body, dhatu khandha, and preparing the food according to your desired recipe in order to be delicious. After you have finished eating the food that you cooked, you don't even know what the food tasted like during the meal. You simply kept eating in order to satisfy your body's needs. Ultimately, you became conscious of being full. Just so, the knowledge that mental intoxications will be extinguished, Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa, is simply knowing that mental intoxications will be extinguished. In a few minutes, the mental intoxications are completely extinguished, and you know that the mental intoxications have been extinguished. It is paccatang, or known on one's own. In texts, the Buddha's enlightenment is described as occurring during the full moon in the month of June. He sat underneath the Bodhi tree from the first watch, Paṭṭhama-yāma, to the middle watch, Majjhima-yāma, and on through the last watch, Paccima-yāma, as these ñāṇa arose in the following sequence. 1. Pupe-nivāsa-nusati-ñāṇa, or the knowledge, ñāṇa, or recollection, of past existences. 2. Cutupapāta-ñāṇa, or the knowledge, ñāṇa, of the kind of consequences faced after the mind, citta, has left the body, and whether those consequences are good or bad, according to the good karma or bad karma that had been cultivated, and after being finished with that karma, whether one is to go on to receive the results of other karma, or go on to be reborn as a human. 3. Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa, or the knowledge, ñāṇa, that mental intoxications, asava, will be extinguished. Both Pupe-nivāsa-nusati-ñāṇa and Cutupapāta-ñāṇa should not be included in the important night of the Buddha's enlightenment. The ascetic Siddhartha had realized and understood both of these mundane worldly insights, Lokiya-ñāṇa, prior to that night. The night of the full moon in June was the final decisive night that would resolutely sever the ascetic Siddhartha from the conventions, samuti, of the world. In that night, there could only be Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa, because it is the knowledge that all mental intoxications will be completely eliminated from the mind. The term nibbāna indicates that defilements, desires, and mental intoxications of all magnitudes will absolutely be extinguished from the mind. It is thus referred to as nibbānaṃ paramāṃ sunyāṃ. Defilements and mental intoxications have been extinguished from the mind. Nibbāna indicates the complete extinguishment of the fuel that causes birth within various existences, bhava. This is likened to immersing glowing red coals in water. The fuel for fire is extinguished, just as defilements, desires, and mental intoxications are extinguished from the mind. This is clearly evidenced by the ascetic Siddhartha's daring aspiration. I will sit in this place until I become a Buddha. He already knew that mental intoxications would completely cease within a Carimākkhacitā. This is why it is not fitting to include these two insights, ñāṇa, into that night of supreme importance. After the point at which Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa emerged within the ascetic Siddhartha, texts should not refer to any other insights, ñāṇa, because there shouldn't have been any further use of worldly insights. He didn't employ any other methods of practice in order to attain release from rebirth within this world. Textbooks define Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa as the knowledge, ñāṇa, that terminated all mental intoxications. The truth is that the ascetic Siddhartha did not have to do anything or practice any Dhamma methods whatsoever. Those who have attained ultimate enlightenment, arahant, will know the characteristics of attaining ultimate enlightenment better than anything. Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa will only arise in three types of individuals. 1. Those who will be enlightened as a Buddha. 2. Those who will be enlightened as a Pañceka Buddha. 3. Those who will attain arahantship as a disciple, savaka, of the Buddha. The noble ones, Arya Bukkala, of more junior stages of holiness, like the Anagami, Sakadagami, and Sotapanna, will not experience Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa. Upon cremation, their remains will not transform into relics of various sizes, like the remains of those who have attained arahantship. Many people say that human bones may turn into relics because of aspirations, adhitthana. I would like to refute this claim, because it is untrue. Only the remains of those who experience Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa and achieve arahantship will transform into relics. This is a defining characteristic of those who are free from mental intoxications, defilements, and rebirth. Everyone is entitled to their interpretation. However, reason and causality must be employed to determine which interpretation is more accurate. If you study the rationale, you will come to understand this matter well. Those disciples who will become arahant disciples will all experience Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa. They may reach enlightenment while in any posture, whether it is while standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or half sitting, half lying down like Venerable Ananda. Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa may arise. There are 4 types of arahants: Sukha Vipassako, Devicho, Chalapinyo, and Patisampitappato. These titles are based on the abilities stemming from each individual's nature and behavioral tendencies. The important point is that they all experience the knowledge that mental intoxications will be extinguished, Āsavakkhaya-ñāṇa. Upon knowing that mental intoxications will be extinguished, it is possible, but unnecessary, to make a bold resolution as the Buddha did, because the awakening to the Dhamma as an arahant will occur shortly anyway. It is unfitting to imitate this resolution, because it is conceited to place oneself on a par with the Buddha. It is possible to do so, but highly inappropriate. Attaining arahantship in the Buddha's era is the same as attaining arahantship in the present era. That is, the purity that is called parisuddhi Dhamma is the same. The minds, citta, of all Buddhas, Pañceka Buddhas, and arahant disciples are equally pure, and they have attained enlightenment, nibbāna, by the same purification. In this era, many claim to have reached these heights because they have meditated until their minds, citta, have become empty voids, and they no longer experience any preoccupations, aramana, of love or anger. They interpret meditative emptiness to be a mind, citta, that has attained nibbāna. Consequently, they believe that they have actually attained nibbāna. That is why numerous fake arahants have arisen in our present era.